Let me ask you something honestly. How many of you promised yourself in 2025, next year I will change? And how many of you are still carrying the same habits, the same fears, and the same excuses? You see, the calendar changed, but you did not. And it is not because you are weak, it is because no one teach you how to rebuild and how to survive. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunities. They fail because they keep waiting, waiting for the right mood, waiting for confidence, waiting for approval, waiting for the perfect moment when everything magically aligns. And the truth is that moment never arrives. Life does not send a notification saying, no, you are ready. It simply keeps moving while we stand still, convincing ourselves that tomorrow will be better. We often believe that one thing settle down, once responsibilities reduce, once fear disappear, then we begin. Life does not because becomes lighter because you grow stronger. You grow stronger by moving despite the weight. The perfect time is a comforting illusions we use to protect ourselves from discomforts. It feels safer to delay than to try and fail. But every delay has a hidden cost. It slowly teaches your mind that your dreams are optional. When you wait too long, something dramatically happens. You start normalize dissatisfactions. You wake up every day feeling slightly unhappy, slightly tired, slightly disconnected. And you tell yourself this is normal. But keep inside, you know it isn't. You know you were mean for more peace, more clarity, more purpose. Yet instead of listening to that inner voice, you listen, you silent with business, distractions, and excuses. The mind loves comfort zones, even if they are painful, at least they are familiar. Stepping into change feel uncertain, and uncertainty scars us more than unhappiness. So we keep waiting for courage, not realizing that courage is not something you find it is something you build by taking actions. Confidence does not comes before actions. It comes because of actions. Things about how many times you told yourself, I will start from Monday, or I will start this month, or I will start next year, will be different. Year passes, calendar changes, but habit remain the same. And slowly, regret replaced hope, not regret for what you did wrong, but regret for what you never ever tried. Waiting also create comparisons. When you stay stuck, you start watching others moving ahead. Their growths become a reminder of your delay. And instead of feeling inspired, you feel discouraged. You forget that they were once uncertain too. They did not wait for the fear to disappear. They move with fear in their hand. The uncomfortable truth is this clarity comes after actions, not before it. You don't suddenly wake up knowing exactly what to do with your life. You discover it by doing something imperfectly. You adjust as you go. You learn while walking, standing still never teach you anything. Every time you take a small steps, your brain rewire itself. It learns that change is survival, that efforts doesn't kill you, that progress is possible. But when you keep procrastinating, your brain learns the opposites. The avoidance is safety. And once avoidance become a habit, even small actions feel overwhelming. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 does not require a dramatical transformations. It requires a decision, a quiet, honest decisions that you will no longer wait for ideal conditions. You will start where you are with what you have you are, even if you feel scared, even if you feel unprepared, even if you feel tired. There is something deeply powerful about beginning before you feel ready. It sends a message to your mind that you are in control, not your emotions. That discipline can lead when motivation is absence, and that message changes everything. Life rewards moments, not intentions. The world does not respond to plan written in notebook. It responds to actions taken in reality. In the moment you stop waiting, something shifts. Energy flows efforts. Opportunities appears when you move, not when you hesitate. One day you will look back and realize that the moment you stop waiting for the moment your life quietly begin to change. Not loudly, not dramatically, not steady, peaceful and honestly. And you will understand that the perfect time were never in the future. It was always the moment you decided to begin. Most people hold on their past not because it was good, but because it is familiar. The mind prefers unknown pain over an unknown possibility. And that is why letting go for who you were last year feels so uncomfortable. It feels like betrayals, as if changing means you are denied your own story. But growth is not disloyalty. Growth is honesty. We often confuse identify with habits. We say this is just how I am, when in reality it is just what we have practiced repeatedly. You are not born with procrastinations, self doubt, fear of speaking up, and the habit of settling for less. These were learned patterns, and anything that is learned can be unlearned. But first, you must be willing to detach from the version of yourself that carries them. Holding on to your old self feels safe because it protects you from expectations. If you remain the same, no one expect more from you instead yourself. But the cost of that safety is silent regret. Every time you repeat an old pattern you have outgrown, sometimes inside you feel heavy. That heaviness is not confusion. It is your inner intelligence telling you that you no longer belong there. Detaching does not mean hating you were. It means thanking that version of yourself for surviving with the tools it had. That versions help you cope, help you endorse, help you get through moments when you didn't keep better. But survival is not the same as growth. What saves you once may now be limiting you. Many people stay stuck because they keep rehearsing their old stories. They introduce themselves internally with labels. I am bad at consistency. I am no confidence. I always mess things up. Repeating these narratives keeps you emotional tired at an outdated identity, and the mind works very hard to stay consistent with the story you tell it. The problem is not that you can't change. The problem is that you keep reminding yourself of who you used to. And every reminder pulls you backwards. When you detach, you stop defending old behaviors. You stop explaining why you are the way you are. You simply accept that you are becoming someone new. Letting go for your old self can also feel lonely because some people around you are attached to that versions. They feel comfortable with the you did not change them, didn't grow, didn't outgrow the room. When you change, they feel unsettled, and some things they will try to pull you back, not out of haters, but out of familiarity. This is where inner strength is tested because detachment requires courage. Courage to disappoint others, courage to confuse people with like the other old one, courage to sit with the discomforts of becoming unfairly, even to yourself. But remember this. You are not responsible for staying small to make other comfortable. Your old self had reasons. Your new self has responsibility. Responsibility to your future peace, responsibility to your potentials, responsibility to your life, what is waiting for you on the other side of this change. And that responsibility is more important than staying loyal to a version of yourself that no longer fits. Detaching also means forgiving yourself. You cannot rebuild while carrying guilt for yesterday. Guilt keeps you encroached to the past. Forgiveness loses that grip. You did not best the good which with the awareness you had. Now you know more. And knowing more invites you to do better. As you step into 2026, understand this deeply. You are allowed to change without explanations. You are allowed to want more without apologies. You are allowed to redefine yourself even if no one understands the new directions yet. Growth often happens quietly because it becomes visible. When you detach your who you were, you create space. Space for new habits, space for new confidence, space for calm mind, space for a stronger identity that is built consistently, not accidentally. And in that space, rebuilding becomes possible. One day, you will look back at the version of yourself you were holding on to and realize it was not your truth. It was just a chapter, important yet, but not the whole book. And the moment you let them chapter ends, you give yourself permissions to write a fair, better one. The people around you shape you more than you realize, not through what they say, but through what they normalize. Slowly, silently, their habits become your habits. Their mindset become your mindset. And their limit starts feeling like you limits. That is why growth often feels so difficult because you are trying to change while remaining unsurrounded by what keeps you the same. Many people believes that loyalty means staying connected no matter the cost. But loyalty without wisdom becomes self-sabotage. You can love people and still recognize that their presence in the daring your energy, clarity, and ambitions. Not everyone who has access to your life deserves influence over your future. When you begin to rebuild yourself, your environment become very loud. Some people will discourage you openly. Others will do it subtly through jokes, doubt, or passive negativity. They may not intend harm. Often they are simply unforgettable watching you break patterns they never had the courage to answer. Energy is contagious. Spend time with people who complain continually, and you mind slowly learns to see problems before possibilities. Stay around those who are compliment and effort begin to feel unnecessary. This is not about judging others. It is about understanding impacts. The mind absorbs what it is exposed to. One of the hardest realizations in life is this. Some relationships are not bad. They are just expired. They serve a purpose once comparisons, sport, familiarity, but as you evolve, the relationships stop feeling your growth and start fading your strength. Holding on out of the history alone is emotional attachment, not wisdom. Auditing your inner circle does not mean cutting everyone off dramatically. It means observing how you feel affect interactions. Do you feel inspired or exhausted, clear or confusions, motivated or tenured? Your emotional are honest indicators. They reveal whether a connection is nourishing you or slowly emptying you. Sometimes the drain is not emotional but mental. Being around people who consistently doubt, fear change, or ridicule ambitions. Train your mind to shrink into own dreams. You start editing yourself before even trying. You stop sharing idea, you stop believing fully, and eventually you stop becoming. There is also the challenge of guilt. You may feel selfish for wanting distance. You may worry about being judged, misunderstood, or labeled as arrogant. But growth often requires choosing long time space over short time comforts. You are not obligated to remain accessible to everyone simply because you once were. As you grow, your standards change, not just for life, but for conversations, values, and energies. You start craving depth, insights of drama, encouragement, increase instead of criticisms, growth instead of gossips. And this shift naturally reduces your circle. This is not loss, this is alignment. Another uncomfortable truth is that some people benefit from the old version of you. They benefit from your silence, your overgiving, your lack of boundaries. When you begin to rebuild yourself, they may resist. Not because you are wrong, but because the dynamic is changing and the change threaten comforts. This phase can feel lonely, but loneliness during growth is temporary. Staying surrounded by the wrong people create a deeper, more permanent loneliness, the loneliness of being unseen, unspotted, and unfulfilled. Choose the loneliness that leads to expansions, not the one that leads to regret. Auditing your inner circle also includes how you engage digitally. The content you consume, the voice you listen to, the messages you reply in your mind, they all count as company. If you continuously feed your mind negativity, compassion, and unrealistic standards, rebuilding become harder. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 required courage to protect your energy, not aggressively, not angrily, but intentionally, with calm clarity. You did not need to announce your boundaries, you just need to live them. Over time, something beautifully happens when you create space. The right people appears, people who speak positively, who respect your growth, who challenge you kindly. They don't drain you, they expand you, and being around them feels lighter, not heavier. One day you will realize that changing your circle doesn't make you all lonely, it makes you forced. It does not make you cold, it made you selective. And most importantly, it gave you the environment your new self needed. And most importantly, it gave you the environment your new self need to breathe, grow, and finally become real. Most people wait to feel motivated before they begin. They tell themselves, when I feel inspired, I will work harder. When I feel confident, I will be consistent. But motivational is emotional, and emotionals are unstable. They rise and fall with sleep, mood, praise, failure, and circumstances. If your progress depends on how you feel, your growth will always be fragile. Discipline, on the other hand, does not negotiate with emotions. It does not ask whether you are tired, bored, doubtful, or afraid. It simply asks one question: what need to be done today? And that is done it quietly, repeatedly, without drama. This is why discipline changes lives while motivations only exist with temporary. Motivations feels powerful in the beginning. It gives you energy, excitement, and big promises. But it fades the moment discomfort appears, the moment results are slow, the moment efforts is required without intimate reward. And that is exactly when most people stop. Not because they can't continue, because motivation left them alone. Discipline stays when motivations disappears. It carries you through day when nothing feels rewarding. It helps you act even when the mind is full of resistance, and over time it creates something far more reliable than self-respect. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you build trust with yourself. Self trust is the foundations of confidence, not talent, not praise, not success. Confidence grows when your actions match your words. Discipline align them. Motivations offer breaks that alignment by making you dependent on feeling before acting. Many people misunderstand discipline. They think it means being harsh, rigid, or joyless. But real discipline is not punishment, it is self care in its most honest form. It is choosing long term peace over short term comforts. It is protecting your future self from regret. Discipline does not require massive efforts, it requires consistent in small things. Waking up when you say you should, showing up when your progress feels invisible, completing tasks without waiting for apologies. These small acts compound slightly, and one day you realize you have become a different person not through intensity but through commitment. When you rely on motivations, you made your life conditionals. I will try if I feel good. When you build discipline, you make your growth unconditionals. You act regardless of mood, and this create emotional stability. You are no longer controlled by fluctuations in energy or emotions. Discipline also simplifies life. When decisions are already made, mental noise reduces. You don't waste energy debating whatever to act. You have already decided. This clarity fills the mind and reduces stress. Ironically, discipline creates more freedom than motivations ever could. As you rebuild yourself, discipline becomes your anchor. It keeps you grounded when emotional fluctuates. It reminds you that feelings are temporary but habits are permanent, and it allows you to move forward steadily without burning out. Discipline also deeply empowering. It shifts your ideal from someone who hopes to someone who executes, from someone who dreams to someone who builds, from someone who waits to someone who moves. This shift changes how you see yourself and how other experience you over time. Discipline create momentums and momentum create motivations, not the other way around. See yourself making progress, even slowly motivations return naturally. But now it sports discipline instead of leading it. Rebuilding yourself in 2026 will not be about sudden burst in inspirations. It will be about daily choices made without negotiations. Quiet victories no one apologized. Efforts or no one seems and consistently that eventually becomes your identity. One day you will realize that discipline did not limit your life, it expanded it. It gave you control over your time, your energy, and your directions. And in that realizations, you will understand that motivations may start the journey, but discipline is what carries you all the way forever. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people think silence means weakness, avoidance, or suppressor. They assume that if you don't speak, you are afraid. But true silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of awareness. It is a consistent pause when understanding grows before reactions take over. Most of the demand in our life does not come from what happens to us, but from how quickly we react to it. We speak when we are hurt, respond when we are angry, explain when we feel misunderstood, and defend when your ego feels threatened. In other moments, but especially before wisdom arrives. Silence creates the space where wisdom can enter. When you learn the power of silence, you stop giving immediate access to your emotions. You stop allowing others to control your inner state with their behaviors. Silence breaks this cycle. It teaches you to observe before you absorb. And observations change everything. Silence does not mean you never speak. It means you choose when to speak. It means your words are no longer driven by impulsive but by clarity. When you pause, emotion settles. Sorry. The mind gains perceptivity. But for urgence often reveals itself as unimportant. Many conflicts escalate because both sides are trying to be heard, not understood. Silence interrupts these escalations. It disarms tensions. It gives you time to listen not just to others but to yourself. And often you realize that no every situation deserves a response. Silence is especially powerful in emotional situations. When someone provoke you, your silence force them to comforts with their own behavior. Reacting gives them control. Silence take it break. It shifts power inwards. Internally, silence allow you to settle in a noisy mind. Truth is hard to hear. Consistent stimulations, opinions, and mental chatter drain out. Sorry. Silence creates stillness, and stillness reveals directions. In silence, you become aware of patterns. Pattern in your thinking, your reactions, your fears. This is the first steps to change. Without silence, you remain trapped in automatic behavior. Silence also strengthens emotional intelligence. It teaches resistance. It teaches patience, and it teaches you that the peace is not found in winning argument but in preserving inner calm. As you rebuild yourself, silence becomes a tool of self-respect. You no longer explain yourself unnecessarily. You no longer argue to prove your worth. Your calm presence speak louder than words. Silence helps you detach from ego-drive reactions. Ego wants to be right, wisdom wants peace. Silence gives wisdom the upper hand. It also depends relationships. When you listen more you than you speak, people feel seen. When you respond thoughtfully instead of reactively, trust grows. Silence makes your word more meaningful when you do choose to speak in a world addicted to noise. Silence is a form of strength. It shows you are not desperate of validations or attentions. You are grounded. Rebuild yourself in 2023. Thank you very much.